Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's finally time for the weekly pop culture wrap-up. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin Robbie Billups, and this is the long-awaited return of the weekly pop culture wrap-up. It's the show where I go over the week's pop culture news, mostly comic books and movies. Let's get right into it with some comic book news. Chasm Curse of Kaine has been announced from Marvel Comics for the summer of 2024. This is going to be either a series, like a mini-series, or it's going to be a mini Spider event, or it's going to be another event, or it's just going to be something involving Ben Reilly and Kaine. Kaine and Ben Reilly, of course, are two of the most popular of the Spider clones to come out of the clone sagas of the 90s. It's really interesting to me that we're in this bit of 90s nostalgia right now for comic books where we actually have nostalgic value in something like the Clone Saga. Now, at the time, the Clone Saga was super cool. It blew everybody away. Oh, the Peter Parker we've been reading for the last 20 years was in fact not really Peter Parker, but switched with the clone. It went back and forth, but Marvel never had a cohesive plan for that series, for that run, which covered in Spider-Man books for years, basically, and it just meandered into nothing, and it just became a big, dull spot in Spider-Man comic books of the 90s. But now there's a lot of people who grew up with that, and that's one of the reasons why Marvel keeps revisiting it. Now, I love the character of Ben Reilly. I loved him as Scarlet Spider back in the 90s. He was part of the New Warriors. That's when I really kind of got into him. But I loved the costume, loved the idea, loved that character, still love that character. But the whole turning him into the villainous Chasm, I just don't really vibe with that kind of stuff, right? So I'm not super pumped up for this, but if this could be somehow a return to the Ben Reilly that I know and love, like Scarlet Spider version from the 90s, I would really appreciate that. But, of course, this is a follow-up to what Zeb Wells and company did with Dark Web. I wasn't really sold on that. I like Kaine, I like Ben Reilly, but I don't like Chasm or the direction of either of these characters for the last few years. So let's see what can happen. Then we got Rom V is exiting Detective Comics. His last issue is going to be Detective Comics 1089. We had Rom on the show early last year. He talked about how there was a definitive plan for his Detective Comics run. It had a beginning, it had a middle, and it had an end. And now that end is approaching, and as sad as I am to see it go away, because it has been one of my favorite books at DC. In fact, if you look at all the end of the year lists, including mine, including the Lost in Comics Best of 2023 nomination special, and the upcoming award show that they're doing, I believe on January 11th, so check that out. Detective Comics by Rom V and a whole slew of talented artists was at the top of a lot of people's lists. It has been a really solid book. It started out epic and operatic with this sweeping gothic and romantic kind of tone to it, and it's continued that and has only picked up momentum as the series has progressed. I am incredibly excited to see this run reach its conclusion, as sad as I'm going to be to not have Rom V on Detective Comics. I know he's got other stuff coming from DC down the pipeline, and I'm always excited to see something that I believe is going to be a perennial, evergreen run that can be read and discussed and talked about for years to come. I'm excited to see that actually reach its conclusion. I'm excited to see a book that actually had a plan from the big two, a beginning, a middle, and an end, and did something familiar, yet did it in a different way. So let's see if he nails and lands that ending. By the way, Rom's going to be here on Pop Culture Philosophers yet again. That's going to be this upcoming Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So noon Central. Check us out for another conversation with Rom V. And you know we're going to be talking about this. All right, DC is claiming that they own Machine Man X-51, the character that was created by Jack Kirby as part of the 2001 A Space Odyssey series that Marvel did back in the 70s. That character had a life of its own at Marvel. Some really awesome runs like Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby had influence on that character, of course, and then like Barry Windsor Smith did a great run, but it's been kind of up and down with Machine Man lately. But DC is informing Marvel that they believe they own the copyright to that character. The reason why is this, because the character was introduced by Jack Kirby in 2001, A Space Odyssey, the graphic novel, or not the graphic novel, but the comic book series adaptation. Like, Jack Kirby kind of did his own thing with that. I've been hunting down those runs, those issues. I have several of them, but I don't have the whole thing. I want that whole thing because it's impossible to reprint that. Anyway, 2001, A Space Odyssey, not owned by Marvel. In fact, owned by Warner Brothers, who owns DC Comics, or Time Warner, or Discovery Warner, whatever it's called now. They own 2001. They own DC Comics. Ergo, they believe they may own the copyright to Machine Man. Now, how is this going to play out? I don't know. Why would DC be weird stretching over this? I don't know. Maybe it's because they would love to reprint that 2001 A Space Odyssey book as part of their Jack Kirby line of collected comics or something. I will tell you this, though. I don't think that this is going to move Machine Man from Marvel over to DC. I don't think DC's got grandiose plans with the character of X-51. I don't think Marvel really has grandiose plans with Machine Man either. I think this is just kind of like a poking at the other guy kind of thing. But I will tell you this. Go ahead and snatch up your Machine Man trade paperbacks, complete collection by Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko right now before it just gets even more convoluted, all right? Todd McFarlane was on comicbook.com. He gave a little bit of an update on the Spawn movie. He basically said 2024 is a make or break year for this Spawn movie as far as Hollywood is concerned. So Todd is giving Hollywood one more year to get their shit together and make a Spawn movie. And after that, Todd says he's got plan B. And his plan B is he says he has a lot of independent investors who are ready to throw money at this project to fund it independently, which that could be cool too. I'm excited to see a Spawn movie. I want to see what a Spawn movie would look like with today's cinema, with today's CG, with today's technology. The old school Spawn movie is not the best, but I do find things about it that I really, really enjoy. Check out our PCP movie night we did a few years ago about it. Maybe we should revisit that one soon. But Todd says if Hollywood doesn't get it together and get the Spawn movie going this year, he's going to do it independently with independent investors. Maybe that's what he should have done from the beginning. Shout Studios has acquired the rights to a bunch of properties of Jim Henson. Shout Studios, of course, the company behind the awesome Blu-ray sets and stuff from Shout Factory and Scream Factory, but they have gotten a bunch of Jim Henson stuff, including Labyrinth and Dark Crystal, which means we're going to get some new, super cool, hopefully, Blu-ray 4K sets of Labyrinth and of Dark Crystal. This is going to include other properties from the Henson Company. No other have been named that I have been able to find, but I would love to have Fraggle Rock have a really nice modern release. I think that would be super cool. Steven Yeun has left Thunderbolt. Steven Yeun, who most people know from The Walking Dead, he played Glenn. He had been cast as the Sentry in next year's Thunderbolt movie for Marvel Studios, but he has left the project. He hasn't left the project because of creative differences or anything like that, but it's just a scheduling conflict. Post-strike, a lot of schedules are being redone, and he wasn't able to fit Thunderbolts in, so he is out as the Sentry, so we should be expecting news at some point in the nearest future of who is going to replace him as that character. Got a trailer for the First Omen. Didn't even know they were making this movie. It's kind of like a prequel to The Omen, I guess. That's what I read online. The trailer wouldn't necessarily leave you to make that assumption on your own, except for the font on the title, but it comes out April 5th, and I loved the trailer. The trailer looks like it's going to be talking about the woman who gives birth to Damien, maybe, possibly, I don't know. The story doesn't give you, or the trailer doesn't give you much about the story, but what it does do is it has this like creepy song that's playing. It's got this like very intentional and methodical kind of pace to it. It has these taglines that don't seem to make sense to me. It has a little bit of audio at the end, but there is something foreboding and a sense of dread that is shown in that trailer that kind of got me pumped to check it out. So that's April 5th, The First Omen. Then we got the trailer for Lisa Frankenstein, which is a new film written by Diablo Cody, who we know as the writer of Juno, as the writer of Jennifer's Body. So she's doing this movie. It releases on February 9th, and it's about a woman who's lonely. She's a teenager, so it's a coming-of-age type story, and she is infatuated and kind of falls in love with this grave, or this dude who this grave belongs to. Somehow this dude comes back from the dead, hooks up with her. She's trying to teach him about life. It's got a little bit of Encino Man vibes, maybe. It's also got a little bit of My Boyfriend's Back vibes. If anybody remembers that movie from the 90s, I absolutely loved it. I remember going to the theaters to see My Boyfriend's Back. The trailer was delightful, though. It seems like it's going to be fun, seems like it's going to be witty, seems like it's going to have some commentary, but it also just seems like it's going to be charming and a lot of fun, and that's what I'm looking for out of some movies. So, Lisa Frankenstein releasing February 9th. I think it looks cool. So there you go. Anyway, that's what we got. Kind of a light week for pop culture news, but don't worry. The weekly comic book wrap-up, or the weekly pop culture wrap-up, don't even remember the name of the show, it's been so long. It's back. So you can join us here every Saturday morning for a look and a recap of the week's pop culture news. Anyway, I'm dipping out. Let me know in the comments below anything you think about any of this news. Drop below. What do you think about this Machine Man nonsense? What do you think about these trailers? What do you think about Spawn, the movie? And are you a big fan of what they're doing with Ben Reilly and Kaine right now, and the whole Chasm dark web stuff? Are you a fan of that? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Join us over at patreon.com if you want to help, patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support this channel. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on living, reading, and loving. Station. Pop, pop, boom!